Hey, this is Jack at TC3. Today we're going to replace a water pump on an 04 V6 Ford Mustang. That's a 3.8 or 3.9. Tools 7mm, 8, 10, 13, 15, 18, and 19. Wrenches or sockets will work, whatever you have. And we have a leaky water pump. I'm just looking here, it's leaking out the weep hole, and I believe that heater pipe, which is that black pipe sticking up, is also leaking a little bit. But the water pump is also making noise. We're going to remove the upper radiator hose. We have already drained the coolant from this vehicle into containers, so there'll still be a little left though. Okay, we're also going to pull that off the thermostat housing, so we'll put that to the side. We're going to put a 19mm socket on the tensioner pulley and pull that like you were loosening it, and the spring arm will come up and you can get the belt off real easy. So, kind of like that. So we'll just remove that and put that to the side as well. Keep your parts orderly, you're going to need them later. We'll take this bolt off of this. This is the only thing holding this overflow reservoir on. We need to remove that. So remove that 8mm bolt. It just pulls like that. Then you're going to remove your overflow hose. Loosen the clamp. And you're going to pull up. There's a little... it's like a push clip that holds it on. You got to wiggle it and pull it pretty hard. It'll come up. You're not going to damage it. Okay, we need to get this pulley off of our water pump. So, since my air ratchet decided to quit on me today, I'm going to do this the old-fashioned way. I'm going to take a wrench, put it so that it's touching the balancer wheel, and that'll hold it like as you're trying to loosen it. And an air ratchet be perfect for this, but we're going to use a impact wrench anyway and just get all these out of there, and then just remove the pulley from your water pump. Okay, these have the squeeze clamps, so we'll just grab them with some channel locks or big pliers and undo them, get that out. Like I said, there'll always be some coolant left in this thing, whether you drain it or not. Try to keep that mess and dispose of it responsibly. Maybe have some pans under the vehicle for what's left. This little 8mm bolt that holds this heater pipe on, you're going to need to pull that up and out of the water pump housing. You do that. You could break this real easy, by the way, so I'm just going to try to pry and just kind of wiggle it out of there. It generally doesn't want to come real easy. There she is. Okay, the water pump bolts are all different sizes. They're mostly, what are they, like 10s and 15s. What I do is I remove them and I start right at the top and I put them in a clockwise, I do take them off in a clockwise manner, and I just lay them all out in that order, so I don't even have to try to figure this out when it's going back together. When you get down to these two, what you have is the bracket that's holding your power steering pump, and to get that off you have to remove your power steering pump pulley, and you need this kit to do it. You can rent this like from AutoZone or probably any other auto place that rents out these tools. It's a specialty tool. You're not getting that off unless you have this. So there's two collars that go together, and this is gonna pull them out. I'll show you how that's gonna work. So this goes inside the collar, and the collar goes inside of the two little rings that are on the front of the pulley, and over top of that there's a big round collar that goes over the collars. So there you go. Now, there's just a flat side that's going to push on that, and that bolt that you see close to the pulley. Well, I'll show you in a second. So you're going to hold that bolt that's close to the pulley still. This is the only way to get the bracket off. This really kind of stinks. But you're going to almost go clockwise with the bolt you're turning, which is causing the one that you're holding to actually pull out. So slowly but surely you're pulling that pulley off, and there you go. It'll take a little while. You just got to keep hacking. So let me show you how that goes. Okay, so the two collars are on, right, that are just in halves. You put this inside, and then you slide that over top. And as you loosen it, so just so you can get a little better look at what I was doing. So that's it. And when you bring this back, they'll give you your deposit back. So it literally will cost you nothing to use this tool. Okay, now we just need to take the bolts out of the bracket because they're on top of the water pump. We need to remove that bracket to get the water pump off. Simple, huh? So anyway, the squeeze clamp up on the lower water pump hose, the lower hose, and again, there's extra fluid in there. There it is. So. Okay, back again. We're removing now all these bolts that are on the water pump. We get that thing off, and there it is. More mess. Okay, we did get it off though. So now I just figured I'd put a new thermostat in. We'll get the thermostat housing. There's a sensor wire that's right in front of one of the bolt holes for the thermostat housing. So you just remove that. And there's two 8mm bolts that are holding this on. They might be 10s, I can't remember. Anyway, housing off. And remember this. The spring side of that thermostat, the new one, goes toward the motor, goes toward the engine. So I'm going to clean that. You have to get this surface clean and smooth, so I'm using a razor blade and then a fairly coarse Scotch-Brite. So when I put this in, again, make sure your spring's pointing toward the engine. Have your gasket already on this, and sometimes you could just put a bolt through the hole and it kind of helps to keep everything in place. And you can look in that hole to make sure your thermostat has not shifted before you tighten this down and it's all wrong. So that's what we did. Don't forget to put your sensor plug back on. Listen for that click. And yeah, it's about that simple. Okay, your heater pipe, you'll get a new, with your water pump, you'll more than likely get a new O-ring for that. So slide that on, clean that pipe up a little. I put some gasket sealer on this. I wasn't sure that was... I did as good of a job as I could with that cleaning up that surface, but I just wanted to fill in the gaps. I do not want leaks when this is over. So they make a sealer, it's kind of blue, and it's made mostly for cooling systems. I didn't have that, but the stuff I had will work. Okay, so we're going to get the heater tube back in that hole, push this thing back on. You can put a little, the surface of the aluminum, your new water pump will be pretty smooth, but you can put a little gasket sealer on the outside of the gasket just to make sure. So now we're going to tighten down that 8mm that holds the heater pipe in. And yeah. Okay, so we have our little squeezy clamps that we're going to put back in place. A lot of time if I'm using the same hose, I like them you know, because the clamp's going to leave the indentations, I like to leave them exactly where I found them. Like where they came off, you can reposition it perfect and it won't leak generally. Okay, so we're going to put our power steering bracket back on. That goes over top of our new water pump. Tighten that all in. And get them nice and tight. I don't know what they torque to, just tighten them. Your pulley. You're going to put your pulley back on. So we're going to use that special tool again. I'm putting a very light oil on the inside of this. I'm just going to wipe it and don't use anything heavy or grease or anything. So we're going to take the tool. This bolt that you see, I'm screwing that down. I'm just going to clean up the outside. This is probably nothing, but it doesn't hurt. It only takes a second. In any event, we're going to now slide the pulley back on there. The bolt side of that specialty tool will thread into the center of the shaft of the power steering pump. So you're going to put that all the way until it doesn't turn anymore, and then you're going to screw the other piece forward. It's just going to push that. So this time you're going to turn the one closer to the pulley and hold the other one the opposite of what you did before, and you're going to turn it in like a tightening fashion. It's going to push it onto the shaft. So you're going to be doing this for a while. It'll start going on real easy at the beginning, get a little tougher as time goes on. But you want to push that all until the pulley is like flush with the shaft. Like if you take this off and there's still a quarter of an inch to go, you need to get it tighter than that. So that's what it'll look like. You'll be able to see that shaft like that. All right. So we're going to put the pulley back onto the water pump. And yes, I got a brand spanking new air ratchet in between earlier in the video and now. So. And you can tighten it with wrenches like this. A lot of time after I do that, I got that and I didn't know how much torque it was going to have, so I wanted to check these. So I kind of have it on the bolt, but I also have it against that middle shaft, so it holds it. That's the old-fashioned way. I'll take our serpentine belt now and I'll check it. I want to see if there's cracks or it's all worn out. There's no use putting a bad one on. I mean, nobody likes being under the hood all the time. So this one looks good. We're going to route this correctly around all these pulleys. And the last thing I'm going to slide on is that idler pulley that's just to the left of the alternator. As I hit the tensioner pulley and loosen it. So make sure it's all on, the ribs are all on the pulleys and balancers. So okay, so I'm releasing the tension. Now I'm going to push that underneath. Okay, so that should be on. Do that. So you just take a quick look at it, make sure it's all on, and yeah, this can happen. Like when I pulled that out to slide it under, it must have pulled it off there. So back to the tensioner pulley, and you just slide it over. Now it's on. So it's always worth a quick look. Okay, here's our overflow reservoir. That little lug there is going to go into this hole down on the bottom. That's like where the radiator's being held, that bottom brace. Okay, you're going to push in, and then you're going to have to push down because there's a little lug that holds it. So you saw that jut. Now you pull that upper brace under, put the plastic in there, and you're going to reattach your mounting bolt there. So that's what we're doing there. Overflow hose, and make sure you tighten that. That one's routed to up by the radiator cap. So do that, tighten her up, she's good. Okay, little trick with these squeezy clamps. I think most people know this, but if you don't, if you pull them all the way tight like that, it'll catch on itself and just stay open. And I'll show you a little trick to get that undone. So it's like really easy to move now. You don't have to fight with it. Okay, so you move it in the position you want, and you just take a screwdriver, put it through that top loop. You're just going to push that tab that's sticking up down a little, and it's going to snap into place. See that? There we go. Works pretty good, doesn't it? Alright. So, right now, I'm going to fill this up with water. This is just tap water from my garden hose. This is not what's going to be in the vehicle, but I'm just flushing it out. It's pretty much flushed. I have the drain open on the bottom. I leave that hose off just so I know that the radiator's full. And for me, I'm using the Ford Motorcraft concentrated, the gold coolant. This is what the car wants, and it's what the gaskets are designed for, and it's expensive. And when I mix it down 50-50, I will use distilled water. I got that from Walmart. It's less than $1. I think it was like 67 cents or something. So I put half concentrate, because this is the overflow reservoir, and half water. So it's pretty close to mixed correctly. Okay, do not forget to close your drain petcock before you put your brand new coolant in there that is very expensive. You just watch it pour out the bottom. I pre-mixed the coolant and distilled water 50-50, so I'll just add as it warms up and get it to its right level. Reattach your overflow line and tighten it. This vehicle will be running. I will add coolant cut down 50-50 as needed. I'm putting a new radiator cap on this thing. We're just going to let her run for a while. I'm going to take a little compressed air and clean her off. I'm looking for leaks. Make sure this thing's all tight. So far so good. This was the problem area and I don't see a problem now. So success. Okay, it all looks good. Very good. Thanks for watching.